know, I have made a little bit of a name for myself in the digital marketing space. And what I want to chat with all of you about today is a little bit more about paid media, which is a component of digital marketing. So like, what does it consist of? What would a pathway be if you wanted to get into it? Because believe it or not, there's still a huge opportunity. I would say there's such a high demand for it, but there is a low supply in terms of people that know this space and people that know how to operate in it. And specifically, what I'm going to be talking about is paid media, because there are a lot of different components when you talk about digital marketing, but paid media is one specifically that I'm going to go a little bit more into today. And as you know as well, I wanted to highlight this too, that when we talk about advertising online, it just continues to grow every single year, and it's not slowing down, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it's not going to go back to traditional advertising either. So with that said, I'm going to break down a little bit more what is paid media and digital marketing, types of paid media that exist. I will chat a little bit more about specializing in a specific area versus being well-rounded in it, and then agency versus brand side. So let me just share my screen with you for 1 second. Okay. So I just listed out a few things off of this doc, and I just wanted to show it so you can follow along with me. So when I talk about paid media, what is paid media in digital marketing? So essentially, it's just paid for advertising placed online. So if you've ever seen something that says sponsored or ads, that essentially is paid media. And as I mentioned before, it's one component of digital marketing. So digital marketing has a lot of components underneath it, such as email, like organic social media. They have paid, and this is what we're focusing on today. So what types of paid media exist? Here's a list: programmatic, paid social, direct buys, YouTube, paid search. You may also hear the term PPC, which is pay per click, and influencers. So just going back through this list, I'll give you more of an example of which each of these things are. So you have programmatic. Programmatic is, I would say, one of the hottest pieces of online advertising right now, because you can pretty much have an ad be shown across the web, across a number of different websites. Also through programmatic media buying, you can also have ads show up if you're streaming TV. So for example, if you happen to have Hulu and you have the TV option, when you get an ad, there you go. Or even if you don't have the TV option, anywhere there's an ad that comes up through those type of apps, you can actually target that through programmatic media buying. But through programmatic media buying, you can also do audio ads. So for example, if you listen to Pandora and you know those ads that come up through Pandora, you can do that through programmatic media buying. So those are just some examples. I could go on, but that is one reason why it's one of the hottest pieces in online advertising today. Then you have paid social. Paid social is extremely popular because everyone really uses social media. So example of that, the biggest example of that obviously would be Facebook. Facebook was one of the social media platforms that really started to drive that. Not saying they're the only ones, but they were definitely one of the big key players in that. And so that is probably the one that most people are familiar with when they see ads. So when you see it says sponsored, that would be considered a paid social media ad. But it's not just Facebook, obviously. You have Snapchat, you have Instagram, you have TikTok. So if you ever see an ad on there, that would be considered a paid social ad. Next thing on here is direct buys. Direct buys, a lot of people really would not know what this is unless you actually do this type of work and you have to do a direct buy. A direct buy is when you go straight to a publisher and you say, you know, hey, I would love to run this campaign on your particular website or through your platform, and then they actually execute that for you. Trying to think of an example. I guess one example would be, let's just use Hulu again. Hulu does have an option of managed service and self-service. I'm not going to go full into detail what that means, but when you have managed service with Hulu, you can go to Hulu and say, hey, I have $100,000. I would really love to promote this new book. We're just making up something here. This new book that's coming out or this new movie that's coming out. And we want to do it specifically with Hulu. What Hulu will do, they will give you what's called a media plan. You look at the media plan, see if it fits what you want to do. And if yes, then they will actually create an insertion order, also known as an IO, send it back to you for you to sign. And they sign and give you a copy of it as well. And there you go. Same as if you just think of a website. Another website that comes to my mind, I think is it Genius? I hope I'm not messing it up, but it's the website that has music, right? So there are certain websites that have very unique features to them, and you could do programmatic buys and still target their website, but maybe there's something special that they have if you go to them directly. And you'll go through that same process of they'll submit a media plan to you, you'll look over it, and you'll decide if you want to do it or not. If you do, they'll give you the insertion order, the IO, sign it, and then bam, your campaign runs. So a lot of people don't know about direct buys because you don't really need to know too much about it, and you really will only see it if you're working at an agency or a brand. But if you do programmatic or paid social, it is something that you could see as just an average person, I guess. Moving on to the next thing here, YouTube. I think YouTube is very straightforward. A lot of people watch YouTubes and you've seen those ads. So not too much to say there, but it's essentially just buying ads on YouTube. What we have here next is paid search or pay per click advertising. I'll more so give an example of this because if I give you an example, it's going to be a little bit easier for you to remember or resonate with the definition here of it. But essentially, think of Google and you're searching for something on Google and there's there's options that come at the top and those are ads. That would be your paid search. So someone, could be anyone, you could even do this if you wanted to for yourself. You had a website, you can have it come to the top of search results by running a paid ad. So that would be your paid search type of paid media. And then lastly, we have influencers. Obviously, influencers are very popular. And the way it works with an influencer is very different than all these other methods or types of paid media I just listed out, because you're actually working with an influencer for them to post certain content. You have to negotiate a contract and you'll figure out together, I guess, like what you want them to post, if they agree to it or not, and you move forward that way. So then the influencer, once you two come to an agreement, you have a signed contract, then the influencer likely will do a number of posts for the agreed amount on the contract. So like I said, the influencer piece is a little bit different, but I'm just looping it under the paid media umbrella here. So I know that was a lot, but there are a lot of different types of paid media formats. And so that actually brings me to my next thing up here, which is specializing in an area versus being well-rounded. What happens is some people will solely specialize in one of these areas that I listed above, and that's a good way to get started, but it would be good to know more than one particular way. So the thing that I listed here was when you get started, you may just want to focus on one. I think the easier one that people tend to gravitate towards would be paid social, because it's not hard to get, for example, a Facebook ads manager account and start running an ad with $1. So that's why I think paid social can be a little bit easier to gravitate to. That's the same with YouTube or doing Google AdWords. It's very easy to get an ads manager account and start playing around with it and start learning it. The other types are a little bit more difficult to start learning right away. That just because of having the access to those platforms or those accounts to even be able to run an ad. But now that I'm thinking about it, I do want to call this out in terms of the more popular formats to break into. I just want to pause and go back for a second because I think this is something important to note. So programmatic, paid social, and I would say paid search will be your top three. Like if you're going to start anywhere, those would be the top three that you want to know. And then once you get the opportunity, programmatic may actually be one of the hottest in demand types of paid media buying right now. So that would be the one that I would recommend people start gravitating towards. That's a whole other conversation, but I just wanted to give that as an idea of maybe which type of paid media you can start focusing on and which is going to be a good one to really hone into once you have the opportunity to. Okay, so now that brings me back to specializing in an area versus being well-rounded. So if you're just hopped in, then yeah, you may want to specialize in a particular area. But if you have plans on moving up, let's say you want to move up in ranks, you want to move up in management and so forth, then you do want to be a little bit more well-rounded, because once you start getting up into like that management point, then like you're I guess depending on what route you go, whether that's agency or brand side, essentially, if you know more, great, because you're going to be overseeing more versus just only overseeing programmatic. You're likely going to start overseeing all the types of media buy. So the more you know about each type of media buy, the better. So those are just my notes around specializing in an area and being well-rounded. So when you first get started, you might want to specialize, but at some point you do want to start being more well-rounded, especially if you plan on continuing with it and overseeing more and moving up. Okay, very, very, very last thing that I have here is going to an agency versus going to a brand. We're going to talk a little bit about like example roles and then the difference between buy side and sell side. So with buy side and sell side, there's two sides of this whole paid media piece that I'm touching on in this video. So we have your buy side, that's you actually buying the advertising. So if you've ever bought a Facebook ad that you just did a media buy, you were on the buy side. The sell side would be Facebook. We're just going to use Facebook again as an example. So if you purchased, okay, let's say you set up a campaign. Some of you may have already done this anyway. So if you're on Facebook, let's say you have a t-shirt that you want to promote, or you have some digital product that you want to promote. Just start your ads manager account. You could take a small budget, you could do $5 or whatever you would like to do, and run a campaign. When you run that campaign, you are on the buy side. You put $5 behind that t-shirt, you put $5 behind a digital product, and now you're on the buy side. The sell side would be Facebook. Facebook sold you the opportunity to be able to promote your book or your digital product or whatever other service or product that you're trying to promote in that campaign. So hopefully you see the difference between the two sides. You have one side where you are actually buying the ad space, and then you have the sell side where you have someone that is selling you the ad space. So that is two different sides that you can actually be on. And so these are the roles that I'm going to be talking about. So on the buy side, you can either go on the agency side, which is actually working at an agency, and then you have in-house. And in-house is also termed as brand, and that just means, instead of being at an agency, working with different companies and brands and doing their online advertising for them, when you're in-house, you're not working with an agency. So if I were to give an example, I'm going to use Dunkin' Donuts because I see Dunkin' Donut napkin by me. So I'm going to use Dunkin' Donuts. Let's say you go to work for Dunkin' Donuts. You would be considered in-house, or you would be considered brand. Now, we also, like I said, you have agencies. If you're at an agency, it's an agency. And I think that's just pretty straightforward. So the roles that you have when you're on the buy side and when you're on the agency, typically what you might see is analyst, senior analyst, then you start moving up like manager, director, vice president. That's on the agency side. This is typically what you'll see. This is not how every single last agency operates, but more or less expect to see something like this in terms of title and direction that you would go. Then you have in-house. Again, that's where you're at the brand. I just use Dunkin' Donuts as an example. So you're in-house at Dunkin' Donuts. And typically what I have seen, and again, I just want to harp on the fact that it is not like this at every single last company, but this is likely what you're going to see, which is coordinator, specialist, and then of course, as we start moving up, it's manager, senior manager, director, vice president. That is the route that you would go. So again, that's on the buy side. On the buy side, you're either at an agency or you're in-house. The next and last thing would be sell side. So earlier, I used the example of Facebook. Facebook sold you that spot, or they gave you that spot to run your ad. So that's the sales side. And what you might see there for like these companies that will actually help set up campaigns for you, so you're not doing it yourself. Because as you know, like with Facebook, you can do a direct, I'm not mistaken, you can. I know for sure with Google, I'm pretty sure you can Facebook too. It's been a while since I've done like a direct buy with Facebook. I forgot. But anyway, my whole point of what I'm saying is if you have a certain campaign, sometimes you can run it through an ads manager account. Facebook, as an example, you just decided to open an ads manager account and you're running your own ads. But you may want Facebook, as an example here, to run that for you and you not set it up. Or maybe they have a special type of ad product that you cannot buy in your ads manager account or on the self-service side. So then you need Facebook to run it for you. And in a case like that, then you would have roles such as campaign manager, account executive. And I wouldn't say this is like a certain pathway. I think that would have to be another conversation to be had for the sell side. But at least these are like some different type of roles. So you can start Googling these to start understanding more the difference. So give me one second. Okay, so with that said, I pretty much wrapped everything up here, which is just giving you an inside look of what paid media looks like. You know, again, it's a very hot space to be in. It's in high demand, but a lot of people don't really know it. So there's low supply, and I think there's still this huge opportunity there, not only for that reason, but also because it's not going anywhere. It's only increasing year after year. So hopefully you've gotten a good grasp or like a good foundation of what paid media is and the types of paid media in it, and just maybe how to start getting involved or what to start looking at as you start, I guess, making your own journey into as well. So I hope this was helpful, and until next time.